Hi, I'm Steve Lentini, and your host for Different Thinking for Different Times, Season 5, Episode 4. Ernest Holmes is someone I love to quote, but I'm going to start today with Oscar Wilde. He said, "Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken." That's the thing. Today, yes, people are willing to be themselves. And where we go over the line, where we become small minded, which is what this podcast is about, expanding small minded thinking into limitless thinking to match what we live in, an infinite universe, a miracle, and to match whatever created that, whatever you call it, whatever you call what created an infinite universe. Think about that. But we are so filled with hubris and small minded thinking, we think we know all the answers. And clearly we don't. Clearly we don't. But I learned that in my near death experience, November 18th, 2002. So now I will read from Ernest Holmes and from the Science of Mind monthly guide. It was actually today's thought. And I promised to tell you who it was written by. And who it was written by, Dr. Reverend Dr. Michael Gott, G-O-T-T. Okay, you ready? He writes, everything is an expression of the one perfect power and presence that is spirit. There's no separation. Therefore, the universe is a perfect self-supporting system. Nothing is extraneous. Nothing is lacking. God gives to God what is needed by God from the infinite supply of God. And we're one with that life force, by the way. That's my glucose alarm going off saying, you need to check your glucose. So nothing is lacking. We're one with God. And that's what I learned. I'm giving myself some insulin. Pardon me while I do this. So, what I experienced, one second I was in intensive care, and the next second I was one with everything and nothing, one with the infinite. And it's just a knowing. It's like spirit and all the people who've passed before us speak to us telepathically. It's just an immediate knowing. You're one with everything and nothing. And words don't describe what I experienced. I'm in awe of that experience every day, and it's over 20 years ago. November 18th last year, it was 20 years. But I can tell you how small-minded we all are, including me, before that day, because none of that thinking went with me. None of the small-minded thinking. So we think, I chuckle when humans think they think like God. Well, we're gods here on earth, or God told me to do this. If it sounds small-minded, and we know what sounds small-minded, it's not from the infinite. And that's our job. That's what I learned is our job is to expand our thinking, become more acceptance, not tolerant, more accepting of others. Why are there so many trillions of life forms here on this earth? A, for us to enjoy, it's a wondrous miracle. And B, all the ones that appear to look like us, that bother us and bug us, they're part of this miraculous creation for us to learn to accept them and understand them. Have a dialogue with people. Why do you think that way? How did you come to that conclusion? What do you suggest? I'm not saying you have to change your mind or to follow anything or anyone blindly. I'm suggesting You question yourself. Get over yourself. John Maxwell likes to say our job in life is to get over ourselves. Let me tell you about the rest of the near-death experience for those who haven't heard it. Briefly, I was one with everything and nothing. 1 second in intensive care, the next second, there wasn't even a veil. It wasn't an eye blink. It was just the next consciousness was one with everything and nothing. No physical body, nothing physical on the other side. And then there was a life review. Only the good I had done, every life I had touched. People I smiled at, people I gave money to, family, friends that I had helped move, give a ride. Anything good I had done. And it's small-minded to think that people not only pay for their mistakes here, whether it's a petty mistake and we hang on to it and we want them to pay, we're giving them rent-free space in our head. But if we want people to burn in hell forever for their mistakes, does that sound small-minded? It's not what I saw. Only the good I had done. Think about how you feel when you do good. I can tell you it's etched onto the fabric of time somehow. And when you look at today's society, even our leaders stand up and just make everyone wrong. They don't take any accountability. Doesn't matter what side you're on. The right rails against the left rails against the right. And it's fascinating in a free society how it seems like we want everyone to think like us. How small-minded is that? Can you imagine if everyone looked the same, talked the same, felt the same? We wouldn't know we were alive. And for those that make mistakes, it's okay, admit it. We're here to make mistakes. That's this existence. Some have called it a life school. Well, if we're here to learn and grow, then your business is your journey, and everyone else's journey is none of your business. That's what I've learned. The other thing I learned is people go searching for God, but God is never separate from us. That life force. The force, think about the force that created an infinite universe that is still growing and expanding. Some people think there may be as many dimensions above us as there are below us. We understand the small ones, right? The small bugs and insects that we can see, and then there's so many we can't see, dust mites, and then there's microbes and all kinds of cells on our skin. We get it because we have microscopes and scientists talking about it, but Lisa Randall, who's a physicist, has said it's possible there's as many things so big we can't see them. Why wouldn't there be? If there's so many things small that we can't see. There could be universe on top of universe. Could be experience on top of experience. If it sounds small-minded, it's not from what created us. And that's our job. Think of all the people that spend time railing against others in social media. I'm chuckling because I spend no time reading any comments. I'm not even sure people have ever commented on my stuff. I don't care. I have a right. That's why I wrote the books. You might be full of shit if. And then Amazon published it, but they wouldn't allow me to advertise it because it had profanity. Even the ads, of course, the title. So I wrote the next book the next weekend. You might be full of number 2. After all, we know better. The woke edition. While it may sound like I'm making fun of people, but I'm not. I'm only making fun of where we make others wrong and where we have small-minded thinking. But you'll have to buy the book or email me. I'll send you one as a gift. Steve at SteveLentini, LENTINI.com. So the purpose of this podcast and my calling came from that day that some would have called my darkest moment. But I learned surrender to it. The moment I was headed to the ambulance, while the EMTs were on the way, in fact, people said to me, "How are you doing?" I said, "I'm grateful." To some, I said, "I don't know how my body's doing, but I am grateful." I knew then there was an I greater than the one in my body. And that feeling of gratitude never had me concerned about an ending, because I knew there was what's next, which is what I think we should call death. But that was just a suspicion, right? And then it was proven to me, because 5 days later, in intensive care, I was one with everything and nothing. Then the life review and only the lives I had touched flashed before me. And then the question, stay or go? And my consciousness answered with, thy will be done. I had never surrendered so fully like that to any moment. It began when I got in the ambulance, but I learned the power of surrender, and that the now was all there was. I couldn't connect the events together until I was back in my body. There was like a scene and a scene and a scene. Only the now. I call it the now on steroids. And we go searching for God, but God is all around us. The life force is never separate. We worry about our contribution to the apocalypse, and I laugh because we're part of something so big. Nature takes care of itself. Now, should we do the right thing and take care of? Yeah, each of us do the right thing individually. And then collectively, it'll happen. We should take care of our environment. I mean, I moved to this neighborhood in Staten Island. There was so much trash on the street, I couldn't believe it. These are homeowners. I sent the pictures to the sanitation department, and 2 days later, the whole street was cleaned up. And I pick up trash in my area now. That's my responsibility. And I do the right thing. I recycle and do the right thing by the environment. But that's my journey. And that God is never absent. The life force is never absent. And so when things don't match your picture, that's what Michael Singer says in his book, The Surrender Experiment. What he says is we get irritated because things show up in life that don't match our picture. Then we're upset. But who made us upset? All we have to do is accept it in the now. Oh, as Eckhart Tolle says, this must be the plan. Christ said everything works together for good. Mohammed said what reaches you is meant for you, and what misses wasn't. And those quotes in my book, Sages, Sage Advice, Wisdom for Living from the Ages, that's available on Amazon as well. That wisdom came from people. Now, later on, humans made it into religions, but I can tell you there was no religion. Nothing from here. Nothing from our small-minded thinking. There was no one right religion. There was no one race, no sexes, no mention of sexual preference or political party, all the things that we allow and get enrolled in that actually are so small-minded. I use the acorn to represent the acorn brain in all my talks and in my videos. So the purpose of this podcast is to get you thinking. Osho wrote in the book, Your Answers Questioned. It's a great book. Get it. To question your answers. That's different thinking. And where you're making others wrong and railing against others and not taking accountability, I don't fault the public for it today or the general population, because our leaders are doing that. And it's our responsibility to change it. I think this political system in the U.S. has failed us. Two parties has really got us grouped into one side or the other, although I'm an independent today and have been for over 20 years. And I've been each. I've been a Democrat. I've been a Republican. I'm an independent because I want to vote for people who talk about common sense. who think infinitely, not making others around them wrong, willing to have a dialogue and compromise, learn from the other side, learn from people that think differently. That's universal, infinite thinking, matching what created this miracle we live in, right? 200 billion suns just in our galaxy, billions of planets, billions of planets. Would be 2 trillion if it's times 10. Maybe it's more than that, but if it's just times 10 every sun, just think about that. And then there's more beyond. And, the distance between us and another star is 4 light years. You'd have to travel at the speed of light for 4 years, which I'm not a physicist. I'm sure someone could give me the answers of how many Earth years that translates into. But between us and that next star is nothing. And that's fascinating to me because I was one with everything and nothing. 1 second in intensive care. I survived 2 major health challenges in 5 days. And everything works perfectly today. I am a walking miracle, and I'm grateful. And life moved me from one train track. I felt like I was on the wrong train. Have you ever felt that way? I was on the wrong train, and I saw my train heading by me. Every once in a while, that would flash into my consciousness, a train going by with where I was supposed to be. That was life, because God is never absent. It's in the now, what we go searching for, and we don't embrace the now. Life gave me a 2x4, and if you pay attention, life is urging you through all the circumstances that you love, and especially the ones and that you find difficult, and the people you find challenging and difficult. They're showing you a part of you. Google the mirror principle. You'll get some ideas about that. But here's something Wayne Dyer said. When you squeeze an orange, you get orange juice. When we get squeezed, we get what we need to work on. There's the gift in the moment. But most people want to tell the story about what happened. Want to hear what they did? Want to hear what my boss is doing? Want to hear what my company's doing? You want to hear what happened to me? And the next person says, oh, yeah, I know that stuff, but wait till you hear what happened to me. We walk around with a story. And when that story, like Michael Singer says, doesn't match the picture we have, we claim we're unhappy. Eckhart Tolle says, when you fight life, life fights you. That's what you're doing. When you fight what shows up, it was meant for you. Your journey is your business. My journey is none of your business. Everyone else's journey is none of your business. That's what I urge you to consider. Expand your thinking into the limitless, infinite thinking of the life force, whatever you call it, that created this miracle we live in. Have gratitude for every moment. You can be grateful for so many things, and you can be grateful in the challenging moments if you stop and pause and look and ask, what is this here to teach me? What is this here for me to learn? How can I grow in this moment? Because that's life. That's the life force. That's God. The goddess, the divine, the Brahma, the Buddha, the Muhammad, the Christ consciousness, the Abraham. Whatever it is you believe is wonderful, as long as it leads you into infinite thinking, limitless thinking. Don't live in scarcity. Live in a wondrous universe and enjoy the miracle of it. Consider reading The God of Spinoza. Einstein, when he was asked what his idea of God was, he would answer 2 ways. Often he would answer, read The God of Spinoza. The God of Spinoza forms my idea of God. Then another time he answered, the deeply emotional conviction of the presence of a superior reasoning power, which is revealed in the incomprehensible universe, forms my idea of God. It was incomprehensible for him what he was studying and came to the conclusion of. And when physicists someday say they found what created this, you can blow their mind by asking them, well, then what created that? I wish you all a long life. And I suggest that if we all had a glimpse of what I did, a near-death experience, a peak, we wouldn't be so petty. And I hope not before this podcast ends. I wish you all a long life, one that is in the now, embracing everything that shows up, and especially the uncomfortable and the disturbing events and people. There's the gift. The gift is in your darkest times. Or it might be. And it may be that you wake up to it much sooner. When you expand your thinking from small-minded, limited thinking into the limitless, infinite thinking, you'll find your life changes because what you put out changes. The energy you put out changes. But you do that for yourself. You prove it to yourself. The beauty of living in this life is you can do that. When you change, things change. I say if you don't like your experience of the world, change how the world is experiencing you. Find gratitude for everything and in everything. Questions, Steve at stevelentini.com. That's Steve at Steve, L-E-N-T as in Tom, I-N-I.com. Come on the show, be a guest, challenge me, debate me. Remember, I might just ask you, does that sound like small-minded thinking? Thank you.